Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kill the Cast podcast. My name is Jerry, and with me is my co-host, Jay.
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
And joining us is the Silent Hill biker himself, Kenneth.
Hi there.
I like how Jay just busted in.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have any major, one-liners or anything like that. Sorry.
No, you don't have any.
No, I don't.
Jay was just on deck with probably one of the best quotables from a Nightmare movie.
Very true.
My favorite Nightmare movie too.
Isn't that three?
Yep.
Three more years. So I'll say, isn't that held as besides the first one, that's one of the best of the series?
In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go. I'd probably have to agree. It's probably the next one, but I spent a lot of time watching 3 and 4 consecutively because I actually kind of like 4.
Oh yeah, because 3 and 4 sync up, and then I think 5 and 6 sync up, but I could be wrong about that. Or 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, because the 6th one is Freddy's dead, and it goes off on its weird little tangent.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
So today on the podcast, we are going to talk about the 1981 slasher film, The Prowler. We will be giving a full review on that. And then as a bonus on the end, we will be talking about the movie that just came out, The Witch, which will not be a full review. It will just kind of be our reactions to the movie and thoughts and opinions and all that jazz. So, without further ado, Jay, what have you been doing this week?
Mainly work. As we've told everyone millions of times, and you both work retail. I just got a promotion, which has given me a more steady schedule, so hopefully we'll all come together more often. But I checked out an awesome movie that everyone should watch. Maybe we'll go into detail in another episode, but He Never Died. It stars Henry Rollins, and it's just fantastic. It's best to watch it without learning anything about it. Just go to Netflix, start it, watch it, and you'll thank me later.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out because I've seen the cover, the picture of the cover on Netflix, and I've been interested, so I wanted to watch it.
It's really good. I was really impressed. There's a friend of mine told me to do the same thing. He said, don't watch a trailer, don't read the summary, just start it and watch it, and it was really good.
And see, I love Henry Rollins.
Is he mad the whole time?
No, well, yeah, kind of. It's good, though, and it makes sense why he would be angry the entire time.
Hey, Kenneth, what have you been doing this week?
Same thing, mostly work, but I checked out a movie called Starry Eyes that was it was pretty interesting. It was like a satire on how far that people will go to make it in Hollywood. It was really good.
I've seen the cover on Netflix, and I want to watch it. It looks looks interesting, to say the least.
But that was probably, other than The Witch, that was probably my big one for this week.
Gotcha. I just worked and played Doom, and I suck at Doom. I was just telling Kenneth, there's these little mini challenges that come up, and you get something special for them. And the one I'm doing right now is kill 30 people with the double barrel shotgun in a certain amount of in 5 seconds, but every kill gives you 2 seconds unless you do a glory kill that gives you 4 seconds. And I did that for the last hour and still could not do it. So once I get done with this recording, I'll probably go spend another hour trying to do that until I cry myself to sleep.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing about that is those side missions, they're like gambling. So every time you get in there, it's like you want to over and over and over again until you can accomplish it. At least that's the way I look at it. It's like gambling.
I think I agree with you.
It's addictive.
So anyway, guys, we're going back to an early slasher this week. The Prowler, 1981, directed by Joseph Zito, who any horror fan will know as the director of Friday the 13th Part 4, and any Chuck Norris fan will know from, the 2 Chuck Norris movies he filmed that I don't remember the name of, because fuck Chuck Norris.
Okay, why fuck Chuck Norris? Other than the fact that he's got a pretty beard.
I mean, he's just overrated. I can't take the Walker, Texas Ranger very seriously. Like I told Jay earlier, the only movie I can think of with him in it that I enjoyed was the one where, like, and I can't remember the name of it, but the kid daydreams. Sidekicks. Okay, Sidekicks, where the kid daydreams all day about fucking being all over his actiony nuts.
Oh, come on. You didn't like the Braddock series, man?
Oh, God. Fuck you, Ken.
Oh, they were great.
So anyway, we're gonna start this movie, and you know what you don't see a lot of time when you start off a horror movie? A fucking black and white footage of World War II ships and newsreel-like talking going on. And that's how we start this movie. Black and white warships, bringing back the troops from World War II. And we're like, yes, they're bringing back everyone. And then they immediately go into a breakup letter.
Yeah. She's like, thanks for saving the country. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, just immediate breakup. The one thing I did like about it is all the words she was saying matched up with the words that's on the paper, because you would be surprised at how many times they do that in a movie, and it doesn't match up with what they're saying.
Well, see, I'm glad that finally, even though, well, it wasn't really finally because it was 1981, but still, you never really see a movie that is, this into a guy getting pissed off because, the chick that he was dating or married to, whatever the case may be in any of these situations, breaks up with him, you know what I'm saying, while he's deployed.
Yeah, because the letter specifically states that the letter happens in 1944. The author of the letter is named Rosemary.
Yeah,
So, now that you know that Rosemary broke up with him while he was deployed, we're going to the night of the graduation dance in 1945, and it really just shows a bunch of people walking around. You see a lot of military people who have come back from the war and are going back to their high school sweethearts or college sweethearts, whatever they may be. I was kind of confused throughout this movie if they were high school or college, but I know later on they talk about dorms, so I'm assuming that this is some kind of a college situation, but at the same time they're also like, don't drink and you got to stay inside, so it feels more like high school. Do y'all have an opinion on this?
I would guess college with a conservative town or within a conservative town.
Gotcha. So we see some people, but we'll go ahead and jump to the main person, Mr. Jerkoff. This dude is like the biggest asshole, and he's with a girl, and he's like, let's get out of here and go to this fucking gazebo. And, like, a janitor bumps into him, and he all flips out, don't touch my girl. And then they get out to his super nice car, and he's like, yeah, your parents are jealous because my parents have more money. Like, dude's such a jerk-off.
Yeah, it was just like, right off the rip, douchebag.
Yeah. So, but what you do learn is that the reason he's so angry towards, like, all these military people is because this girl is Rosemary. She is the one that left a military person for him, and I guess he feels like all the military people are going to team up on him or something. His insecurities are only as big as his wallet.
I just think he's a douchebag.
He pretty much.
Super douche.
So they're at the gazebo. He's starting to mac. The lights get turned off. She's starting to flip out. He's like, just like every guy in every single one of these horror movies, no, baby, it's nothing. Let me fuck. And right there, we go directly into the first kill. Pitchfork to the back, through the chest, into another chest, as the Prowler kills both of them and leaves a rose in the girlfriend's hand. How did y'all feel about this opening?
I like the kill.
It was actually my favorite, probably my favorite kill of the entire movie. That was probably my favorite.
And Jerry, I thought it was a really good setup, and it explained everything without having to over-explain, which was nice. As long as you were paying attention, you got all the cues. The kill was interesting, and I'm with you. I really enjoyed it.
I will say this though: it took me a minute to get that was Rosemary because my audio for this copy of the movie was kind of really low, and so I had to turn my TV up really, really loud. But it took me a minute to get that was actually Rosemary, because most of the time in these slasher movies, it could be just anybody getting killed. So it took me a minute, and then I went back and looked at it and actually, discovered that was Rosemary. But, like I said, that was my favorite kill of the entire movie. The rest of it was kind of kill-wise. I was just, eh.
I can see where you're coming from on the telling it was Rosemary thing, because, like, rule number one of supervillain superpowers in a horror movie, as soon as you smell the hint of sex in the air, you're going to it like a bloodhound and someone's dying.
That's true.
So we jump 35 years to the future, to 1980, to another graduation dance. So there's two chicks putting a banner. They're having a graduation dance. Yippee-ki-yay. Sheriff says a dude killed a kid, robbed a store, and stole a car.
Yes.
And like any good sheriff, he's like, but I'm going fishing. Have fun, fuckers. So Mark, who is the deputy, and Pam, who is our main female protagonist, are there like, whoa, should he really go fishing? And Sheriff still don't give a fuck, he's going fishing. So Pam's stressing, and now we start getting into the movie. We get these nice shots of boots getting laced up, girls getting dressed, chicks flashing old men in wheelchair. The Prowler's getting ready, and so are the girls getting ready for this dance. And these dresses they are wearing are ugly as shit.
Yeah,
well, they're 80s, man. Come on now.
And they're probably not going to be on very long anyway, so it really doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, there was actually a spot where one of the girls said to the other one, "Well, you're not going to be wearing it very long anyway."
That is true. That was completely said to one of them. So all the girls leave except for one. Pam's like, yo, I'll wait on you, but Chick's like, no, I'm gonna finish my shower. Go right ahead. Pam leaves and is super paranoid the entire time looking, because she thought she heard stuff. So then we get into a POV shot of the killer walking, of what we actually think is the killer walking, as we get to the first of many, and I do mean many, fake out red flag shots that are in this movie.
And then on top of that, the cinematography for the POV shots was terrible. I mean, but it's kind of hard for me to not, for this type of film, for me not to compare it to Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, and I can't blame you there. The POV shot, I think in this one we have the problem of too many POV shots too much of the time. And that ruins what, like in Friday the 13th, you have single ones that happen momentarily, and it's exactly to the point, doing exactly what it wants to do. And in this one, they're just all over the fucking place. Like it was J.J. Abrams and lens flares.
Good old lens flares.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, well, I can't slide it too much, because as you were telling me earlier, or you were pointing out earlier, that it's a very early slasher, and while it hits most of the key marks that slashers hit, it was still finding its footing. Yeah. Because there'd been, maybe 3 or 4 before it?
Yeah, I will get to that later on, because I do have a thing I will be bringing up to touch on that subject. But we find out that this POV shot is a false scare, and it's her boyfriend, and he wants to get in the shower too. She says, well, how fast can you get undressed? And he's like, time me, coach. And I have a problem with this guy. First thing this dude does is lie straight to our face. He's like, I'm going to get dressed so fast. And he closes doors. He sits down and gets comfortable. If that was me, I would have been ripping clothes off. Like, you done put a challenge out to me. I'm getting shit done.
Yeah, my clothes would have been coming off like right in front of her. There would have been no leaving the bathroom.
So, for lying to us all, he gets what he deserves as the Prowler shows up, grabs him over the mouth, and shoves a bayonet through the top of his head and out of his, the bottom of his chin and his eyes go white and bulge out, and this is probably my favorite kill of the movie, and it might be the whole white eyes thing, because that just looked awesome.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the really thing, the actor.
The whole sequence was really good, actually.
Yeah, the actor being able to roll his eyes in the back of his head like that. I don't know whether it was contact lenses or what, but for 1981, I doubt it. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah. that I got to give it to him. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a really brutal scene. But it wasn't that much longer that we got like the Evil Dead movies, and the Evil Dead movies used white contacts. So I'd have to assume that they probably did already have them in 1981, but I don't really know. So if you know, in like comment section, message us, let us know if you have a definite answer for that.
Yeah, because, the only time you really see them, other than when Evil Dead came out, which is the first one came out right around then, but, in like The Exorcist or something like that. But those were all big-time, big-budget movies, so I don't know.
So we then go back to the shower, and we get the Prowler with his favorite weapon, his girlfriend, the pitchfork, and he stabs the chick right under the boobs, into the rib cage, and into the tile shower. And Kenneth, I know you have a problem with this. I know Jay is just like, pitchfork and titties.
Yeah, pitchfork and titties.
Well, see, that was the best part about it, was the titties. The rest of it, man, if you look at realism, it was terrible.
I don't know. I've never stabbed somebody in the chest with a pitchfork, though. I wouldn't know what realism to look for.
Okay, I'll tell you the exact same thing that I told Jerry earlier. All right, first thing is I grew up in the country. I'm a country boy, so I've pitchforks, things like that.
He knows how to hide a body.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So number one, the pitchfork going straight through her. The best thing about that was seeing her tits, because the pitchfork would have not went that far into her body, because the tile wall right behind it, that pitchfork would not have went through that tile wall. It would have bit the tines. That's number one.
I suppose that's fair.
Okay. But I look into these type of things. That's number one. Number two, he didn't pull it back out. He's just sitting there holding it in her. And I think, to me personally, that was piss poor on the special effects. And Tom Savini did the special effects for the movie, so it kind of, I was expecting more. And
the effects look good. It may not have been super realistic, but the effects still look good.
It's just, I've got bigger for Tom Savini. And I'll go further into it when we get to some of the other kills for the exact same reason. So,
my other question is, if you shove a pitchfork into me, my rib cage is right there. I have to wonder, with the curve of a pitchfork, how well that goes in. Like, that doesn't get, stopped a little bit by a fucking curved pitchfork?
Well, it all depends. Most of the time, and this is going to go into anatomy, most of the time people think that the rib cage goes down further than it does, and it doesn't. The rib cage is only right up underneath. It only goes down just maybe a little bit up underneath, in her case, underneath her tits. It only goes down just a little bit. So,
well, full disclosure, I'm touching myself right now, and I'm touching my ribs, and I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like that's, it would have hit,
lean back and pull up.
Lean back and pull up is
like you're reaching
last night.
Yeah,
Snap! We've got to go. Jerry's broken a rib.
Like you're reaching up underneath them.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That doesn't.
It doesn't hurt too bad.
No.
Yeah, too bad.
Not too bad.
So anyway, now that we're done with this murder scene, we go back to the graduation dance. Pam's there. Mark, the deputy's there. They're chit-chatting. This other chick, her name is Lisa. I guess he bumps into the sheriff, who then spills drink onto Pam, and Pam gets pissed off. I'm assuming she probably thinks that the Lisa chick probably did it on purpose, and she's like, I'm going to go home and change. So,
can we rename Lisa Drunken Bimbo?
We can. That seems like a longer name than Lisa.
But it's more proper, in my opinion.
I would rather name her boyfriend Drunken Bimbo, to be honest.
Okay, that works too.
So Pam goes back home to the dorm, and the shower's still running. She's just like, oh, even though you've been in there for, 45 minutes, I'm just going to shut the door. I don't want to bother you.
Well, yeah.
I mean...
Come on, you know what a long shower means.
Not on the night of prom. I mean, maybe, like, after a strip club, I know what a long shower means, but not like, at the dance. So, anyway... She shuts the door, does not notice any of the blood in that room, doesn't notice any blood on the bed. She goes to leave, and as she's going down the stairs, she hears some shit. And so she kind of looks back up. We get a scene of a door opening, and we get a scene of the dead chick with a rose on her. So Pam is starting to leave, and she hears a noise. And she sits there and is just staring up there like something's going to happen. And something does happen. We see the Prowler. And there is a chase. And I gotta give props to her. Not only can she run in those heels, I mean, they're not very big heels, but she can still run in them. She actually she runs smartly. She doesn't, like, run upstairs or into random rooms. She's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and gets the fuck out of here.
Oh, and I gotta give her credit. Same thing. I completely agree with you. Going down the steps, you know, she didn't try to go at it front way. She went sideways. She knew that she was not falling down them stairs.
Well, you know, on the night of the big dance, she knew she was going down.
Took me a second.
Hopefully, later on, it takes him more than a second. So, she runs outside, and she gets grabbed by Old Man. This is the Major, who we've heard mentioned before. It is really nothing. He grabs her, and... that's it. We never see the fucking Major again.
Well,
it's never...
Let's give a little bit more background on the Major. The Major lived across the street, and that was actually who the chick flashed earlier. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was a scene earlier I didn't go into because I didn't think it was important, but I guess I'll mention it now. The sheriff and Mark go to... the convenience store, which is owned by... oh, shit, what's his name? I've got his name here somewhere.
Look at your notes.
I'm looking at my notes, you fucking cunt. Shit, what's his fucking name? He's the one that shows up later and is like, I was in the cemetery and people did shit in the cemetery. I don't know his fucking name.
I'm so terrible with names.
I am, in these horror movies, I usually only remember like a few names because everyone else, like, they show up 2-3 times tops, have 10 minutes of screen time. I'm not going to remember your name. But
we'll just say dude that owned the convenience store.
Yeah, dude owned a convenience store. He has a mentally handicapped coworker named Otto who is kind of creepy, and Otto is going to make a food delivery to the Major. So that's one of the times where we hear about the Major, and we'll get into the Major more later as the Major becomes more of a major part in this movie. So Mark shows up just in time, like the Prince Charming he is, and is like, I'll go look. He finds the purse, doesn't see anything else. They go inside, they look around. Bedroom door is locked, so he doesn't go in there, and he's like, well, I guess we'll head to the Major's house. That was me flipping pages from my notes, because I take notes.
I don't, I just wing it.
Yeah,
me too.
So they knock on the door, no one fucking answers, so they're like, who needs probable cause? I'm going through the window. Again,
the wonderful thing about the 80s.
Yeah.
You can just walk right into somebody, you can just break into somebody's house, and there's not going to be a whole lot of flack.
Well, no, because it's a white cop breaking into a rich white, we would have to assume conservative man's house, and since he's wheelchair bound, I guess the cop feels like he's going to get shot a little less, but it was still a military guy, so still a chance of getting shot. But Mark the whole time is like, hey Major, I'm in your house. So the Prowler is inside also. They make that abundantly clear to us. So they're in this room. He leaves Pam in the room as he goes upstairs. Pam finds a box with pictures in it of a girl and a book with a rose in it, which lets us know that Rosemary, the girl who was killed in the beginning of the movie, who broke up with her military boyfriend, is the daughter of the Major.
Yeah, she's a cunt.
Yeah.
She deserved what she got.
So, I gotta talk about it. It's a really small scene in here, but it really fucking annoys me. So all these false POV shots, all these false flag shots, when he's going up the stairs, after he's out of the shot and you can only see his shadow, they focus on that white door like something's gonna happen. The Prowler's gonna peek out of it, or come out of it, or something. And they linger on this for just a long period of time, like they were trying to just pad out the running time. And it really annoyed me.
Fooled you.
It did. Because at this point, I'm still trusting them for their POV shots, but this is the point where I'm like, you know, you're about as trustworthy as an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I'm not doing it.
Hey, don't rag on Shyamalan.
Kenneth, I worry about you. I really do.
We'll get into that in another podcast, okay?
Yeah, we'll have a whole podcast dedicated to that guy.
So, Mark shows back up, and he's like, I ain't find shit, and Pam's like, look, I wrote this story that was in my newspaper earlier that I gave you that I didn't make a big deal about, but now I'm mad because you didn't read it, even though I didn't make a big deal out of it. And I put 2 and 2 together equals 4, and the dude who's the Prowler is killed Rosemary. Now he's back because we're having another graduation, and he's pissed.
Yeah, he hates when people graduate.
Fucking successful. So
he's like,
they're like,
get a higher education, will you?
Yeah, how dare you? He's not against people having sex. He's against higher education. And that is how Trump was born. So we go back. So we go back to the dance. They go up to Miss School Lady, and they're like, yo, here's an announcement. You need to tell them. School Lady goes up there, stops the glam metal band, and is like, guys, there is a Prowler out there, and that's why we named the movie The Prowler.
Yeah, roll credits.
Yeah, super name drop. Yeah. Then we go to dudes throwing up in the bathroom. This is Captain Drunky Drunk. He is the boyfriend of Lisa, who we mentioned earlier was Drunk Bimbo. Well, her boyfriend is way more drunk, and he is throwing up. She shows up. She walks right into that Target bathroom and tells him that, yo, I'm going for a swim. When you're done throwing up, come find me.
Yeah, she had absolutely no care for this guy at all, and I thought he was going to die. He was hurling so much into that toilet, man. I thought he was literally going to die.
Yeah, I agree. Like, he was fucked. I mean, he could not handle his shit.
I mean, that was like, you know, when I drank all that Jägermeister and Goldschlager that one time.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So, she goes to the pool. She gets into her whitey-tighties and jumps in. And we have another... when I first watched this movie years and years ago, this scene really stuck out to me. But as I rewatched it, for some reason it wasn't as impactful to me. But she comes up from swimming, goes to the ladder, and just, bam, kick to the face.
Yeah.
When I was younger and I watched this, that scene stuck out to me. Like, whenever I talk about this movie, that's the scene that I talk about, the kick to the face, because for some reason, to me, that was just brutal.
Yeah, it's realistically brutal.
Water,
like being stabbed with the farm equipment is one thing, but just getting a straight boot to the face...
I think it's more of like, if you've ever come out of the water of a pool and like someone threw a ball and hit you right when you come out of the water, it's kind of a shocking moment for you. And that's how I felt like when I saw this. Like, if I came out of the ladder, getting out of this cool, refreshing water is dripping down my face and neck, and I'm so succulent, and then, bam, kick to the face. Like, by a combat boot. Like, that's fucked up. That's uncalled for and rude. So, Kenneth, you have a problem with this scene, so I'm going to let you talk about this.
When I boot people in the face, that's not how their nose breaks.
No, on this one, this is different because she takes the boot to the face, brutal. I completely agree with that. But then when the scene goes to under the water, it looks like she's about to have a seizure or something. And I had to rewind it for this. She goes under the water, and then it looks like somebody's grabbing her by the ankle or something and holding her under the water. But then if you look at it, there's nothing there, and it looks like that she's like spasming under the water. You know, like almost like she doesn't know where she is for an instant.
Maybe these people didn't know how people died, and they're like, "What happens when you die?" Like, I don't know. She spasms, I guess.
Well, I mean,
that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, but the only thing that I can think about this is maybe she was in a daze from taking such a hit to the face.
Or maybe there was a scene where the Prowler was actually underwater grabbing her leg, and they cut it out because as soon as she comes back up, like, the Prowler shows up out of nowhere. Literally, like, if you've ever watched any of those YouTube videos where they're like, this proves time travel happened because this person appears out of nowhere. Exact same thing happened. Prowler shows up and slits Homegirl's throat out of nowhere.
And again, that's the next part that I really didn't like, special effects wise, is because when he takes the bayonet and he sticks it on her throat, you think that he's going to just slash her throat and that's going to be it. But no, he holds it on there. And the reason why I didn't like this is because it was almost like they didn't put enough thought into it to slash her throat, that they just left the bayonet with the cutout, you know, on her neck, and he just moved it back and forth, but he never really took it away. And that bothered me because, you know, it's almost like it didn't give the full impact. You know, there's like this build up, and then the knife just stays there. And I just didn't like it. I didn't care for it at all.
I didn't really have any feelings towards that scene. I was like, because the boot to the face scene was enough, and then I got thrown off by the whole jumping out of nowhere from the pool scene. So I didn't really have an issue with the throat and the knife. I thought it was a little bit slower and intimate, kind of sexy.
I take these things for what they are. I don't need to look for realism in my slasher movies. I watch them to see how inventive, whether or not they're realistic, the kills are. The surrounding story usually means diddly squat to me. So when people die, it's good for me. So just depending on how inventive the things are.
Well, see, I agree with you there, but that was, you know, and again, I have a hard time not comparing movies like this to others, but that was one of the things that always got me about the Friday the 13th films is how realistic it looked to a degree, you know.
But we're talking about a child zombie who raised himself in the woods that can't die.
Yeah, Kenneth, quit trying to bring the laws of physics and reality into this.
I can't help it. I like realism in my movies.
So we go back to the dance, and Lisa's friend goes up to School Lady and is like, I'm a snitch. Here's all the info. And she's like, oops, I think I got her in trouble. So School Lady goes out looking for Lisa, and as soon as she stumbles on the brownish liquid in the pool, and we can see the bloodstained clothes, I guess she sees it as she comes closer to it. She doesn't seem to notice the big, just oozing pile of blood floating in the pool. She is about to scream, and Prowler gets her, kills her. This kill, while not great, there's one thing I really liked about it. I liked how the blood trickled down her legs and ankles. Something about that was kind of offsetting to me. Very subtle and just kind of really nice.
I actually kind of like that one myself. You know, it was one of those, you know, like bayonet through the neck. I was just like, you know, and straight through to the back. I thought that was really cool, actually. But I can't remember. Did he actually pick her up off the ground?
If I remember correctly, when it shows the blood like trickling down her ankle, her feet are slightly off the ground.
Okay, I couldn't remember whether it was like a toe dragging across or whatever else, but either way, I liked it. I thought it was cool. And then on top of that, even in the camera angle, you could not see that guy at all in those bushes when he reached out. At least I couldn't see him. You know, it's just like that.
Maybe if I get like a really high definition Blu-ray copy of this and I can turn the like contrast I can see him in the fucking
I couldn't
thing.
see him at all. I was just like, that shows his soldier skills right there.
Here's the thing, though. How often are you going to be able to actually see Michael Caine in the woods? Because I'm convinced at this point that this is Michael Caine, because he comes out of that water with no water on him. He doesn't drip at all. He is fucking Michael Caine. If you don't get that reference, listeners, then you need to go watch Jaws 4: The Revenge and pay attention towards the end of the movie.
I was just about to say, I'm going to pull a Captain America here. I don't understand that reference.
I had it right off the rip. I was like, oh my God.
If I don't make a Jaws reference like every podcast, there's something wrong with me.
That's going to have to be your new thing now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to specifically make sure I get one now instead of this one was just there. But so
I can't say anything. I'll do an Exorcist one for everyone.
Yeah. We go back to the party, and they it's before the lady went out there, they arrested Drunky McDrunk. And so fucking Mark and Pam have Drunky, and they left, and the party is now under the control of an old man. And we see this couple, the one that snitched, the nerdy dude's like, we need to go down to the basement because that's where the magic happened. And she's like, no. And he's like, this is the 1980s. Yes. Drags her down there. They go down there. They start making out on a old mattress because every school basement has an old mattress down there.
Well, duh.
That is a
Standard
legal
issue.
Binding contract. Did you say standard issue?
Yeah, standard issue. All right, here's your textbooks, here's your desks, here's your dirty old mattress. Make sure that goes in the boiler room. You're good to go.
That was a good joke for a military killer movie. So we get someone's watching them. We have this whole Lionel Richie moment, and it turns out it's not the killer. This is another fake out. It's actually the old man who's watching everybody. He is about to get a free show, and he's already licking his lips.
Who was that guy?
He was just a guy who was there helping. I guess he works with the school, I'd have to assume.
I mean, because, earlier in the movie, didn't he go ape shit on the drunk guy for acting a fool?
Yeah, he was like, we will not have this here.
Yeah, and I was the whole time I'm like, who the fuck are you?
Keep in mind, he also, early in the movie said something about, all these pretty girls in dresses make him feel alive again.
Right.
So, this is a whole nother fake out. We don't see that couple ever again. I have to assume they bang, and I really hope the old man came at the same time they did, and it was really beautiful, just a really precious moment.
The more I think about it, the more I wonder if more stuff got cut out of this movie.
I would like to know also. It does kind of give that feeling. It's either a lot of stuff got cut out or they just did a lot of fucking padding for this movie.
I guess.
So
I felt like it would have been padded more than things would have been cut out. Because it probably could have got edited down to, what is it, an hour and a half, probably 80 or 70 minutes.
Probably. So we go back to the police station, and the guy who owns that convenience store that I couldn't remember his name earlier, his name is Kingsley. And he shows up at the police place, and he's like, yo, kids are playing in the cemetery, Mark. Go do something about it. And Mark's like, did you see anyone? No, but I know what they're doing. So Mark's like, well, then how do you know if you didn't see them? And Kingsley's like, I'll call the goddamn sheriff, okay? I will call your daddy, and he will put you in timeout. Mark's like, fine, I'll check it out. Him and Pam go to the cemetery. He leaves Pam, like always, sitting in the car, and he goes to look around, and he finds a open grave. He jumps in and starts to look at it. We have a jump back to Pam in the car, who gets scared by Otto randomly appearing in the window of the car. And I have to go, okay, first of all, what was Kingsley doing at the cemetery earlier that he saw all this stuff, that the gate was wide open? And why is Otto here now? Does Otto just hang out at the cemetery? Does he, waiting for like the cast of Return of the Living Dead to show up so he can watch the punk chick get naked.
That's one of my favorite scenes of that movie.
I bet it is.
I was just about to say, if shit, I'd wait around in the damn cemetery for that too.
Yeah, so it's never said. Pam screams. Mark shows back up. She's like, I saw someone. And Mark's like, I saw a fucking open casket. So they go back to the open casket. They open it up, and bam, Lisa's body is in there, rose on her face, straight up a nice little Friday the 13th move right there. I will say that was a pretty Friday the 13th move to have the body in a random open place for people to discover.
I was expecting more of that when I watched this, but I was surprised that was the only really body setup. I was actually expecting more of it.
I kind of wonder that too, because you felt like there should be more, but he doesn't do it. So he's like, I'm about my business. I have to get stuff done, but at the same time, I need something from this. But you shouldn't take something without giving something. So here's another body. So from there, there's a body. They call the sheriff. We have our biggest comedy relief scene in this whole movie, as the guy at the hotel where the sheriff is staying is this fat dude who just doesn't give a shit about anything, and he just completely fucks with Mark.
I thought the guy was hilarious.
Like I said, one of the big comedic relief scene in the whole movie is this scene.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's a nice little break.
So, yeah. So, well, I guess we're going to call the State Patrol. The State Patrol is going to be here in an hour, but what do you know? They caught that dude that killed someone and stole a car and robbed a store earlier. They already caught him 3 hours ago.
Dun, dun, dun! Dramatic reverb.
Yeah, pretty much on the par. So they're like, okay, well, let's go back to the dorm because that's the only place we can go back to. But Pam's like, we don't need to go back to the dorm. We need to go to the Major's house. This is all tied into the Major. Whoever killed his daughter is back and doing it again. We have to go there. So they go back to the Major's home, break in again, hopefully through the same window. Lights go out, and Mark is walking around with his gun. He's going to go find the breakers and flip them, and Prowler grabs Mark. And bye, Mark. No one gives a shit about you anymore.
Bye.
So Pam is back in that room where she found the pictures, and she sees a new rose on the mantle, and then sees a necklace hanging from the chimney, and she pulls it down, and yes, everybody, what does she find?
The body of Rosemary up in the chimney. Yep,
Santa is not coming to this house.
It's a crossover with Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I would like to see the Prowler versus Garbage Day. I would like to see that happen. So, guess what? Shot to the door. Door opens. Prowler is there. Shot back to the rose. Back to the chase scene. Back to the machete. Changing into a pitchfork. He really fucking likes this pitchfork a lot. So, he's breaking shit in this room, and she's hiding under a bed, and he just breaks shit for a good 5 minutes. It is literally just him lifting sheets and breaking stuff for a solid 5 minutes. The only cameo we get in the scene is a rat shows up for 5 seconds for no reason, does nothing. She doesn't scare like you would think she would. There's no it sets up a jump scare and then that jump scare is gone.
Didn't that same kind of thing happen in another movie where somebody was hiding under something, rat comes up, but the person that's underneath it pees on themselves?
I haven't seen that movie, but I've made that movie.
No, okay. I guess that works.
What?
I'm just gonna stop.
There's a home movie somewhere, Jerry just pissing himself.
Because of a rat.
Rats are friendly.
To be precise here. So they she dips out. She's like, fuck this shit. She gets out of the bed, runs. She shuts the door and is trying to lock it with a fucking chain lock, which he can't break through. Okay, he can't break through this fucking chain lock. Like, you've seen this dude, like, pitchfork people through the chest, lift people up. But he can't break through this fucking chain lock. Like, in this old-ass house, that I think would have came loose. But instead, he breaks his pitchfork because this goes under D&D rules, and he had not repaired it.
He probably rolled a 1.
Crit fail. So, he breaks the pitchfork, he gets in, and then, out of nowhere, for some odd reason, Otto shows up and shoots him?
And then there's, and right after
Otto
that,
Ex Machina.
Yeah. Right after that, there's
God.
like this uncomfortable back and forth between Otto and the girl. There's like, you know, you see her smiling at him, and then he's smiling at her, and then she's smiling at him, and then, you know, it's almost like the nodding thing that was in the Star Wars Family Guy.
Yeah, like nothing happens. They just kind of look at each other, and I'm sitting there like, is she going to give up and hug him and kiss him and be like, oh, I forgive you because I was starting to think maybe you had something to do with this. But nope, instead, he doesn't get that kiss that he wants. He gets a love gun from the Prowler, double barrel, sawed-off shotgun to the fucking chest or head or all kinds of shit, and Otto is dead. Fuck Otto.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, now that the Prowler has killed Pam's new boyfriend, Pam stabs him with a pitchfork, and they struggle over the gun. And now we come to the big reveal. Kenneth and I kind of talked about this, because he called me not long after I got off the phone with you, Jay, when I was, like, almost done with the movie, and he's like, so do you know who the killer is yet? And I'm like, okay, there's 3 possibilities. It's either old man in the wheelchair can actually walk, it's convenience store owner, or it's Otto, the slightly mentally challenged guy. Because, once again, they did a really good job with red flags and fake outs. Now, Kenneth told me, he was like, well, it's obviously the guy that wrote the letter. And I was like, well, yes, Kenneth, I got that part. I'm not as stupid as I look most days. I just didn't know which one it would be, and I kind of assumed it would have to be an older gentleman because the original killing happened in 1945, and the guy was fresh from the war. He was dating a high school/college girl, so he was 18 to 20. So 35 years later, he's kind of an old fuck now. He's 50 to 60, somewhere in there. So at this point, I start thinking, you know, this old fuck has done a lot of stuff. I'm ready to see who it is. So for some reason, he takes off his mask. I think it got pulled to the side or something, and he could no longer see through it. Does anyone know?
It sounded like
I don't remember.
It sounded like he was having trouble breathing.
Yeah, like, and that could have been it. But this reveal was so fucking wasted that no one really cares. It's the sheriff. The sheriff didn't go fishing. He went to murder people.
Well,
so yes, the sheriff is the one from the letter that got broken up with, who killed the original person, and after that murder decided to become a cop because why not? This whole reveal was really fucking weak to me. They showed nothing that indicated it could have been the sheriff, but because the one thing they could have shown that it was sheriff is if the fat dude would have actually went and looked and actually seen that the sheriff wasn't there. But he didn't do that because he was fucking playing solitaire.
Well, yeah.
How dare I expect him to interrupt his game of solitaire?
And see,
you can't pause solitaire.
And see, that was for me, because remember when we had that conversation, I knew right off the rip who it was because of 2 things in that movie. Number one, when he was getting ready to leave, the attitude that the sheriff had, he was just a straight dick. And that was number one. That was number one giveaway. And then the second thing for me was that comedy scene. Because from the point that the sheriff leaves, you never see him again. And then there's that cue scene right there where we should have seen the sheriff, but we didn't. Because, you know, the fat guy was playing solitaire and didn't want to get the fuck up. So but those 2 combined together, I was like, it's the sheriff.
I took both of those scenes as like the first one, the sheriff was just, you know, joshing his guy, messing with him, giving him a hard time. And then the second scene, I just took it as conveniently written plot point to keep Mark from getting, better help. But I can definitely see where you're coming from there. So, Sheriff is revealed. They fight over the gun, and Sheriff gets shot. Now, here's my issue with this. His head gets blown up. He couldn't wrestle this double-barrel shotgun from her, or I think he might have been trying to kill himself at this point.
This is one where I'll actually give it to him. You know what I'm saying? He did take a gunshot to the chest not too long before that.
Kenneth, what did I tell you about bringing realism into this fucking movie?
I'm just saying. Jesus. The one time.
All right, you have a point. I'll give it to you.
Well, you don't know what he's been through. The Punisher trained himself to withstand all kinds of pain. He doesn't even take over-the-counter painkillers. So
yeah.
He was in war, so maybe.
The Punisher can take it straight up the ass with no lube. That's how much of a badass the Punisher is.
Dude, I wish
something to bite onto.
I wish Netflix. I'm getting way off topic here, but I brought up the Punisher, so now I'm distracted. I wish we would get. I hope the Netflix series of him on his own is based off of Max, because there's a scene in that book where he takes a dude to get information, he guts him, hangs his entrails on a tree branch, and says, "Tell me what I want to know or I'm not putting you back together." And then the guy tells him what he wants to know, and he fucking walks off anyway. He's like, "Thanks, bye."
Sweet.
And I want to see that on screen. It was badass.
That would be awesome.
Oh, that is pretty brutal. So, he's dead. It goes in the morning. Mark talks to another cop because he's finally back. Finally. She goes back upstairs and she notices, oh, well, now that one door is unlocked. Well, she didn't notice that. I noticed that. And she goes into the shower and bam, dead bodies. And she has this Friday the 13th jump scare all in her mind, ending real quick, which I thought looked really cool, but I was just kind of like, okay, let's calm it down. That's the end of the movie. That's it. If you did not pay attention and was not able to put things together with this movie, then you probably hated it because you had no idea what was going on. So, before I get into our feelings about this, I just want to drop a couple of tidbits about the movie. I watched the trailer for it, which makes it look like a completely different movie, but there's a line in the trailer that says, "If he gets you, you'll wish you were dead." He kills every fucking person he gets a hold of, so the fuck does this line mean? I
don't know, maybe because he's so brutal?
Yeah.
It has to take a little while to die from a pitchfork to the chest.
That's true. I also want to bring up the stupid tagline, "It will freeze your blood." Nothing about this movie deals with ice or snow or anything like that, so that just made me go, the fuck.
Maybe make your heart stop?
It's supposed to be because it's so terrifying.
It'll make your heart stop. I don't know.
I don't know. I just didn't think this.
Blood running cold used to be synonymous with being afraid. It's like it made my blood run cold.
Okay, I'll give you that. So what was the fuck thing I wanted to bring up? Okay, so we brought up earlier that there's a lot of comparisons to Friday the 13th. So let's go to 1981. Okay. The first slasher movie that comes out that year is My Bloody Valentine in February. The second one is Friday the 13th Part 2 in April. The third is The Burning, which was in May, and this one was the last one, which came out in November. So, all four of these movies are very much close to each other. They're all very similar.
Now, I just want to point out, though, that if they all came out that close to each other, that means they were all in production at almost the exact same time, which means there wouldn't have been enough time, at least as far as I'm concerned, to copy them all.
Well, here's the thing. Tom Savini did special effects on 3 out of the 4 of these movies. The only one he did not do was My Bloody Valentine.
Well, in my opinion, I mean, for all 4 of those movies coming out that year, I would probably, in my opinion, I would have to say that The Prowler was the weakest.
I'll give The Burning as the best one, just because I think The Burning is super underrated. If you haven't seen The Burning, you should watch it.
I have not seen it. I'll add that to my list.
Super, super good movie. With Friday the 13th Part 2 being number 2 for me. My Bloody Valentine and The Prowler are kind of on the same page for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think My Bloody Valentine was just a little bit better than The Prowler. But, you know, I've got a little bit higher expectations for the original because I hated the remake of My Bloody Valentine so much.
Yeah, the remake was pretty pointless. There was not much in there. And also, like, it just, a lot of these remakes, like, change something up, do something vicious, go full out, don't just be so lame and just standard cookie cutter fucking horror movie remake. It really bothers me. So, okay.
That's why I like Black Christmas's remake better than the original, and people give me shit for that, too. I'm like, you're probably just blinded by nostalgia. But I found the original one to be almost a little boring, and this new one was way more brutal.
I actually agree with you. I like both of them. And I think the first one had a better creepy factor to it. But Kenneth and I brought up last podcast that we both like Rob Zombie's Halloween more than the original Halloween.
Well, hopefully we don't get death threats for that one.
Oh, we brought that up too. That we told them they can give us death threats. So, okay, so at the end of this movie, Kenneth, I'm going to let you go first because my opinion is based off yours and I have a response to yours.
I'd have to say that overall, I mean, with this, I don't know, man. I mean, when it comes to this movie, you know, it was because we're still talking about The Prowler, right? We haven't went into the other one, right?
Yeah, no, we're just still talking about The Prowler.
Okay, I want to make sure. But yeah, I mean, overall with this movie, I was kind of I was let down. But the most difficult thing for me when I'm watching this is because I didn't watch The Prowler a long time ago or when I was younger. I just watched it now, so it was very difficult for me not to compare it to other slasher movies. You know, and I tried not to when I was going through it. I really did. I tried not to compare it to other ones. But for me, I thought it was just a ripoff of others. And, you know, for such solid slasher movies to come out before that, like, you know, the first Friday the 13th and then going into this, you know, overall, I just kind of thought it was weak.
All right. Jay, you know what I'm going to say. Do you have an input on the movie you want to bring up before I bring up my point?
Well, it was just, I'm kind of in the same boat as him. When I was watching, I didn't really keep the fact that it came out in 81 in mind, so I was like, well, it's a standard slasher, and there's nothing really that stands out in it compared to other slashers. And then when we talked on the phone, you're like, well, yeah, but it was like one of the 5th slasher movies ever made.
Yeah, so that's the point I want to bring up, is that though, yes, watching it now, it's hard not to compare it to those, but we do need to keep in mind historically that we were still setting what was the slasher movement, what was the slasher like prototype. This year, 1981, is the year to me that kind of set up and signaled what a slasher movie trope was going to be, where we had 4 huge slasher movies come out, all very similar to each other, which is showing us that everyone is on point. We know what makes a slasher movie. This is the year the formula was created and perfected, and I think people need to keep that in mind when they watch The Prowler, because yes, you will compare it to slashers that came later on that maybe did something unique and new, that this one did not do, but at the time it was unique because it had like an original killer. The killer is actually very unique in this movie. He kills a chick who breaks up with him and then doesn't kill again until they bring back the graduation dance, and he's like, no, I didn't get a graduation dance. No one's getting a graduation dance. I'm going to go drink my Starbucks now.
Starbucks wasn't around back then.
Shut the fuck. Damn it. Don't ruin my jokes.
But, I mean, you know, and the same thing, again, with comparison, you know, looking at Joseph Zito's, you know, this one, and then going on to do Friday the 13th 4, you know what I'm saying? I would have to say that probably if I can't say anything else really good, is that I'm glad that he made this movie to get him to that point, because I really enjoyed Friday the 13th Part 4. And so I'm glad that he made the Prowler to kind of, you know, that was I look at it more of a practice film for him to do that great one.
Yeah, and this is the movie that got him the role of directing for Friday the 13th Part 4. It's very well known that this is the movie that did it for him. I do want to point out also on IMDb that it says on there in the trivia section that Tom Savini said that this is one of his greatest works. I looked into that. That is not true. In one of his books he wrote, he specifically states that it's The Burning that he feels is some of his greatest work, and that a lot of the work in The Prowler was not up to par, especially the sheriff getting his head blown off scene, because if you pay attention, only half the head explodes. And it was not supposed to do that. It was supposed to be the whole thing.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Scanners.
Yeah. So that's what I want. I mean, this is
I've never watched Scanners.
Oh,
what?
Dude.
You gotta watch Scanners.
Yeah,
I know.
You need to watch Scanners and Videodrone.
I've seen Videodrone. I watched that one. But yeah, I've never actually had a chance to watch Scanners.
Gotcha. Maybe you should watch it.
I've actually got a copy of it, so if we can rip it, you know, you can watch it.
Yeah. So that's The Prowler. I would implore everyone to watch it to see what an early slasher movie that helped create the formula looks like, and just keep in mind that it was helping to create that formula. It's one of the ones that established the formula. So be a little bit nicer to it, because it deserves it. It is somewhat unique and does have some positives. It does have some negatives. And it's about a 5 out of 5 for me. It's really, it's not terrible. It's not great. It's about a 5.5 out of 5. I'm going to give it a 0.5 for the bayonet through the head scene.
Same for me. 5 out of 5, or 5 out of 5, 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with Jay. 5 out of 10.
Well, then I stand on top with a 0.5 above you people. So,